What's up, NFL fans? It's NFL Nate back again. Today, we're going to be doing a free agency recap. We're going to be grading the 25 biggest free agent signings this offseason. A ton of big-name players going to new teams, re-signing big deals with their old teams, and just tons of money shifting around in this COVID time, so it's super interesting. We're going to be grading the 25 biggest free agent signings. That doesn't mean the best players. That doesn't mean the biggest contracts. It just means, well, it kind of means the biggest contracts, but it's kind of the combination of the both. The rankings don't really matter. I just put them in an order. It's just really the grade that I'm giving each of these 25 biggest signings. So let's jump right into the video. At number 25, we have Cam Newton. Cam Newton signed a one-year deal worth $5 million with the New England Patriots. Really interesting. Cam Newton, quarterback, I feel like he's a pretty good fit in New England. They brought in a ton of other guys to help them, but it's only a one-year deal. I don't think Cam's the future for the New England Patriots like they thought last year, but he can be serviceable, and if he plays really, really well, there's tons of incentives in his deal, and he might earn a new contract with the Patriots if he plays good enough. I gave this a B+ just because it's pretty cheap. A lot of incentives, so if he plays well, he gets the money. And they have surrounded him with pieces to succeed, so I like this one. It's just Cam Newton's not the quarterback of the future, so it's kind of delaying the fact that they need a quarterback, but I give it a B+. At number 24, we have JuJu SmithSchuster, who signed a one-year, $8 million deal recently. JuJu SmithSchuster, a very good player that played with the Steelers for a while, but a lot of social media stuff and others have led people to think JuJu SmithSchuster would leave the Steelers and not be re-signed, but he ends up signing for a cheap contract. This is interesting because you don't know how much value JuJu is going to bring to the Steelers, but this is a very, very, very good deal for only $8 million. We've been seeing other wide receivers being signed for much more, so the value is there. I'm giving this an A- just for the value. I don't know how much he will bring to them and increase their chances of winning, but he's a really good player. He definitely helps that offense, gets those third down, get those hard-earned yards, and you can have players like Chase Claypool and James Washington get those deep bombs. So this is actually a really good piece for their offense on a cheap deal, so I'm giving it an A-. At number 23, we have another Patriots signing. We have Jonnu Smith, tight end, from the Tennessee Titans going to the New England Patriots on a 4-year, $50 million deal. This is a big deal for a tight end of Jonnu Smith, but it is deserving. He's a very good tight end, and the Patriots want to rebuild that offense, and obviously they really like their tight ends, Rob Gronkowski being the main one that they had the past few years. I think Jonnu Smith's going to be a good pickup, a good blocker, a good, not the best blocker, but pretty good, and he's going to be good catching the ball with Cam Newton. So I like it overall. It can really help the run game as well. It's just $15 million a year is a little iffy. They did have tons of cap space to spend, so I'm not grading super harshly on cap space just for the Patriots' sake. Other teams I will, but I'll give it a B+. A little overpay for a tight end, but I do think it's a good quality signing that will help this roster of the Patriots. Next, we have Romeo Okwara re-signing with the Detroit Lions. The exact same deal. Well, not the exact same, but the same money. 4-year, $50 million deal. This one's good for the new Detroit Lions. Obviously, they're bringing in a new head coach. It's going to be a new system. But I do think Romeo Okwara is a very good piece, edge rusher. $15 million is kind of a lot, but I really like it. Just keeping those young pieces on your team instead of trying to bring in new ones. I think this will really help them. He's going to grow into a very, very good pass rusher. And so I'm giving this an A-. Solid signing, but a lot of money, but a lot of edge rushers got paid a lot this offseason, so I'm not grading too harsh right there. At number 21, we have Will Fuller. Will Fuller signed a one-year, $10 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. I like this one a lot. They have Devontae Parker. So, obviously, Will Fuller can be that speedster. I think this is good. It's only a 1 year, so they're not totally committed to just Will Fuller for the future. But it's a good temporary replacement at wide receiver as they're trying to get that wide receiver room fixed. $10 million is a cheap deal for someone like Will Fuller. I like it. I'm giving it an A. Cheap, fixes it for this year, and they can eventually draft guys or get other guys next free agency. So I like this for the Miami Dolphins. I give it an A. The next one, John Johnson, signed a 3-year, $33.75 million contract with the Browns. John Johnson was probably the best safety in this free agency, so I really liked him. It's a really good fit for the Browns, trying to get that secondary much better. I'm going to give this one an A, and looking back, I feel like it should be even an A+. It's just really, really good value. The safety position is really needed nowadays, and so $11 million a year is not bad, and I really like it for this Browns defense that's trying to get better. So I actually would probably change this one to an A+, just because how good it is. At number 19, we have the Patriots' second tight end. The Patriots signed Hunter Henry to a 3-year, $37.5 million deal. This is very interesting. They signed Jonnu Smith, but Hunter Henry is definitely a different type of tight end. Hunter Henry's a better blocker, and he's more of that guy that you can count on third downs, more of the underneath stuff, while Jonnu Smith can go farther, deeper. But I think it's a good contrast between the two tight ends. It's kind of unfair that the Patriots just hogged both of the best tight ends in this free agency, but they got both of the deals done. 37.5 over 3 years is kind of a lot. You're talking about $12.5 million per year. But he's a very good tight end, so I'm not taking anything away from that. I give them a B+. Again, just getting more weapons for that offense is so crucial for the New England Patriots. I think this is a good signing for them. At number 18, we have Corey Davis. Corey Davis was a Tennessee Titan for the first few years of his career. Now is going to be moving on to the New York Jets. This one's interesting for me because Corey Davis, he wasn't the number one receiver in Tennessee ever. He played behind, didn't really play well in his first few years, and then A.J. Brown came, and he instantly became the second wide receiver behind A.J. Brown. The New York Jets don't have a number one receiver, and they're probably not going to draft a number one receiver in the draft. They're probably going to get a guy that's going to take a few years to become a number one wide receiver. So I'm not really sure if they believe. They obviously believe in Corey Davis and that he can become that guy. They have Denzel Mims on the roster, so that's good. Corey Davis, Denzel Mims. I think that's going to be a good pairing, but not a true number one. I don't know how well Corey Davis is going to fit. I think if they get Zach Wilson, that'll be cool to watch. Corey Davis and Zach Wilson. This isn't the worst one I've ever seen, but 12.5 is kind of an overpay as well. You look at Will Fuller, got $10 million. Obviously, that's a 1-year deal, but I feel like it's a slight overpay with $12.5 million. And it doesn't really seem like it's going to fit the Jets very well. I feel like Corey Davis could have done really well in a place where he could have been like a super, super good number two. That's just what he seems like to me right now. Obviously, with the Jets, he's going to be able to grow into that number one, which I think he has potential to do. But right now, I'm giving it a C+. Now that I look back, maybe a B-, a little better, but I don't know. I don't really like this signing to a whole lot. At number 17, we're looking at another wide receiver, Curtis Samuel, who signed for $11.5 million, so $1 million less per year, 3-year, $34.5 million. I like this one much more because they have Terry McLaurin, who's still young, but I think he is that number one wide receiver. You have Ryan Fitzpatrick on that roster, and Curtis Samuel can be another weapon they use. I think this is a very nice pairing, and they're starting to build that wide receiver core. That's honestly underrated with Antonio Gibson. He's a running back, but he's used a lot in the pass game. Terry McLaurin, and now you add Curtis Samuel. I think this is great for the Washington football team. I'm giving it an A-, a really, really solid signing for the Washington football team. Next, we're looking at Leonard Floyd. This one, I don't know how much I like it. He signed 4-year, $64 million for the Los Angeles Rams. He really blossomed last year because of Brandon Staley and Aaron Donald's help. So signing him to a $16 million deal, I don't really know how much I like it. They could have gone with somebody else. They couldn't really draft it. I mean, they still could draft somebody, but they could have definitely had some other options. But instead, they decide to pay him the big bucks. Brandon Staley made him good. New defense. It just seems so weird that they would pay him this much. I don't know how much I like it. I'm giving it a C just because I'm skeptical of how well he's going to be able to produce. He does have tons and tons of upside, so I do think he's going to be pretty good, but I don't know if $16 million is the right amount to pay him, so I'm giving that a C. Next, we have Levante David re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one's straight and simple for me. This is an A+ right here. The Tampa Bay Bucs are doing what they need to. They're getting players back. And Levante David for $12.5 million is such a steal in my books. It's only 2 years, so they're not even committed that long if he starts to decline because of his age. But they're going for that championship run again. This is an easy A+ in my books. He is perfect for that Tampa Bay Bucs defense. He's the leader. So I really, really like the re-signing of Levante David. A+ for me. Next, we have Karl Lawson signing with the New York Jets. This one's interesting. Karl Lawson is a young pass rusher for the Bengals. It's kind of weird. He got $15 million, which is a lot, but he is young, and he's going to a young defense. Robert Saleh is going to start to build with lots of players. I kind of like this fit going to the New York Jets, but $15 million, man, it just seems like way too much. Obviously, with a lot of edge rusher being a main priority for a lot of teams, they are going to get paid a lot, but overall, I think I like the fit. I don't like the price. I'm going to give it a B, so solid grade for the Jets. Next, we have Matthew Judon going to the New England Patriots. This one's another Patriots signing, the fourth one we've done so far. This one's a big deal as well. This is like $14 million, I think, each year. So a pretty big deal for Matthew Judon. I think it's going to fit well with the Patriots. $14 million's a lot, but pretty solid. I'm going to give it a B. A solid signing, just a good weapon they can add onto that defense. But I don't know if they necessarily needed it, but they have tons of cap to spend, so Matthew Judon's pretty good. Now that I look back, I think I should have given it a B+ or an A, but overall solid for the Patriots. Next, we have Trey Hendrickson going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I do not like this one. 4 years, $60 million, which is really close to the same contract as Karl Lawson left. He left for 1 year less to go to the Jets. They signed a contract for 4 years, $60 million. This is really weird because, again, Trey Hendrickson, $15 million is just so much, and they're committing for 4 years. I think one of the big reasons Trey Hendrickson was able to succeed is because he had a lot of help supporting him. Now with this young Bengals defense, they definitely need pass rush. Obviously, it was a big need, so I think addressing it's good, but wasting $15 million already, and they haven't even gotten, they still need offensive line too. It just doesn't really make sense for me wasting $15 million. I'm giving it a D. I don't know how well he's going to produce by himself. I think he's a great player, but I think after 1 good year paying him $15 million just doesn't make much sense to me, so I'm going to give it a D. Next, we have Joe Thuney signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. A 5-year, $80 million contract. This is a big payout for Joe Thuney. He's been with the New England Patriots for a while. I think this will really help the Chiefs. Obviously, this is a big payout, $16 million for a guard, but this will help the Chiefs tremendously in the run game and the pass game. They just need to protect Patrick Mahomes, and that's all I need to be concerned about on this offseason, in my opinion. I think that's what they did, even though they spent a ton of money. It's a 5-year lockup for a player that you can almost guarantee is going to be healthy and produce. I'm giving it an A- just because $16 million for a guard, a little bit too much for me. But overall, it's just going to help them so much. I think it's a great fit for the Chiefs. So I give it an A-, a really good signing for the Chiefs. Next, we have Yannick Ngakoue signing to the Raiders. This one is a 2-year, $26 million deal. This is a great price to get Yannick Ngakoue. I think he's even better than Karl Lawson or Trey Hendrickson, and they got him for less. Obviously, it's less years, but I'm giving this an A+ for the Raiders. A great quality signing to start build that pass rush. They have Max Crosby. They can get Yannick Ngakoue. They can even get somebody else in the draft. But this is such a quality, cheap not super cheap, but pretty cheap signing compared to what other pass rushers have been going for. So I think this is a great deal for the Raiders. I'm giving this an A+ because of just the upside of Yannick Ngakoue and the only $13 million a year compared to like $15 million for Karl Lawson and Trey Hendrickson. I like this for the Raiders. At number 9, we have Leonard Williams. This one, very interesting. Leonard Williams re-signs with the New York Giants. This one is really interesting because he got paid tons, $21 million a year, but he has so much upside and is such a good player and a key piece to keeping that New York Giants defense really good like it was last year. But $21 million, man, that's so much, and especially when you want to do other stuff. I give it a B- just because of the money you have to put in to someone on the D-line, edge rusher. I don't know. I really like Leonard Williams, though, but if they would have got him for like 18 or 17, this would have easily been an A. Just a lot of money to put into him. But I do think he's a very good player. If he produces and plays like even better than he did last year, I think this is an easy A. But it's hard to tell. It's a little bit of a risk. So I'm going to give it a B-. Next, we have Corey Linsley going to the Chargers. Me, personally, I'm a Chargers fan. I was so pumped to see this, and a lot of Chargers fans were too. Some people were giving him a lower grade because they're like $12.5 million for a center. That doesn't make much sense. But if you think about it, the Chargers need that player in the middle. They hadn't had a good center in a long time. They had like one of the worst centers in the league last year, just rotating around. Their offensive line was just in such a big mess. So I do think, like, starting it with Corey Linsley, they get other players, they can draft players. I think this is the perfect place to start. They lock him up for 5 years. Yeah, they make him the highest paid center, but they also get the best center in the league. I give this as an A, not an A+ just because they did pay a center $12.5 million a year. But I think it's a very, very good piece for this Chargers team to add to that offensive line and start building around. Next, we have Shaq Barrett re-signing with the Bucs. This is pretty much the same as Levante David, in my opinion. Easy A+. They're retaining that defense that didn't allow Patrick Mahomes to score a touchdown. Yeah, this is getting an A+. One of the best pass rushers, probably the best pass rusher in this free agency. And they get him back for $18 million. Now, that seems like a lot, and yes, it is a lot, but I thought Shaq Barrett might go for $19 or even $20 million a year. They get him back 4 years, $72 million. A great, great signing by the Bucs. Trying to make another Super Bowl run. This is an A+ for me. Next, we have Bud Dupree going to the Tennessee Titans. 5-year, $82.5 million deal. This is a crazy big deal. I really like this. Bud Dupree is a great player, and I think he can be a number 1 pass rusher in Tennessee. But the reason it's not an A+, I love this overall, but the reason it's not an A+ is they've been bouncing around between Jadeveon Clowney, and just trying so many different pass rushers, and they haven't been working. So it kind of concerns me that they just signed Bud Dupree for 5 years. If he doesn't work out, it's kind of awkward, and they just have such a big hole at pass rusher that they need this to work, so it's kind of all or nothing, but I'm in it. I give it an A. Next, we have J.J. Watt at number 5. J.J. Watt was really early. He signed a 2-year, $31 million contract. Pretty much was the signal from the Arizona Cardinals that they're going all in this year. They also got A.J. Green, so I do think the Cardinals are going all in. But $15.5 million, a lot of money for an old player like J.J. Watt. But I do think it will be worth it if J.J. Watt produces, and they pair him with Chandler Jones and that defense in general. I do think he's going to be a very good player. I give it a B+. A little bit of an overpay and a risky move, but for a player like J.J. Watt, I think it's worth it. I give it a B+. Next, we have Aaron Jones, who signed a 4-year, $48 million contract. This one, I was not a very big fan of for the Packers. I don't think the Packers would like this. They had 3 running backs last year, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and A.J. Dillon, but I don't understand why they put so much money into Aaron Jones. They didn't have much money to begin with, and now they just dump it all into Aaron Jones. It just doesn't make sense to me. This was like their one big signing they were able to get. I think they just should have re-signed Jamal Williams to like a 3-year deal that was less money, gotten rid of Aaron Jones, and let Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon, who probably would have been just as good, and then they could have gone out and got someone like Will Fuller or Corey Davis maybe with that extra money they didn't spend. Now, that's kind of a stretch, but I think they could have done it if they cleared a little bit more space. I really like Jamal Williams and a wide receiver better than just Aaron Jones. But on the other hand, Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league, so I have to account for that. I'm giving it a B-. Overall, I think Aaron Jones is just a really good player, so you can't discount that. At number 3, you have Trent Williams, who signed a 6-year, $138.06 million contract. Now, you might ask why I add that .06, but that .06 made him the highest paid offensive lineman ever, higher than David Bakhtiari. So I'm giving this a C- just because that is a ridiculously high deal for a player that's in their early 30s, but like 33, I think he's 32 maybe. I might be wrong. But if he doesn't work out, this is so bad for the 49ers. This is a big investment, but it could have a big payout just because Trent Williams is a very, very, very good tackle and is just going to instantly help the offensive line tons, but just too big of a risk for me. I give it a C-. At number 2, we have Kenny Golladay signing a 4-year, $72 million deal. I think this is exactly what the New York Giants needed. They needed a number 1 wide receiver to come in and help Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. I think this is exactly what they got. They paid $18 million, but I don't even care about how much they paid. They could have paid him $21 million. This is what the New York Giants needed, and they got it in Kenny Golladay. This is going to instantly help them. They also pairing with him with John Ross that they also got in free agency, I think is very good. And this New York Giants team is looking really good on offense and on defense. So I think this is an A+ for me. And finally, we have Dak Prescott, probably the biggest free agent signing just because of his caliber. A 4-year, $160 million deal. I'm giving this an A-. Yeah, this is probably an overpay in my books. He's not up to Patrick Mahomes' caliber and haven't proved that he's won in the postseason yet. The one year they did really good, they lost in the divisional round. I think he's got to make a few playoff runs for this deal to look worth it. But right now, he's such a good quarterback. He was on pace to do so much last year before he got injured. I'm giving this an A-. An overpay, but for a player like Dak Prescott, I think it's worth it. I'm giving this an A- for the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video and like NFL content, you should subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you enjoyed. Go check out my last video right there, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. See ya!